This is Berg, a place where dragons aren't enemies, they're friends, partners, and eventually even legends. After rewatching How to Train Your Dragon, I knew I had to make something to honor Hiccup's creativity and ideas in crafting. So I decided to make this dice cup fit for a dragon rider in Hiccup's style. So let's dive right into it. After engraving the pattern on a base with laser, we need to make holes for stitching. For this, I am using a 4-hole punch tool fixed in the manual press. To keep the spacing of the holes consistent, I always insert the first tip of the tool into already punched hole and I follow the line along the edge. The last hole was a little bit too far from the edge, so I added additional one that didn't really fit the pattern, but better be safe than sorry. I wanted the background of the base to look like the scales of a dragon, so I drew a square grid so that they have the same shape across the entire surface. Then I spray leather with water and let it soak in for a while. Using swivel knife, I carved Hiccup's sigil and individual scales into the leather. It is really a rewarding process when you see the pattern stand out, and it is really fun. There was no doubt that Toothless had to go on the top of the cup, so I engraved his circular shape on a piece of leather and cut a circle. After soaking the leather again, using swivel knife I bring Toothless shapes out. For the side of the lid, I went with simple Viking pattern. This pattern is often used in border carvings or fillings of various shapes. I marked borders with ruler to separate pattern from holes for stitching. Now we'll make zigzag lines starting in one corner along marked shape from one end to another. Then into every of these triangles, you make perpendicular lines to create 3 equally wide shapes. This pattern is really easy to make, and even though it is simple, it looks really beautiful in the end. To let the scales stand out better, I took a hammer and a wide beveling tool and started a long process. I only beveled one side of each scale to create a shadow-like appearance. Even though I was beveling only one side of the scales, it took a really long time to finish this. To paint Toothless, I used various brushes for the body and tail and other details with black dye. I have skipped one wing of the tail to paint it red later on. With a wool ball dyeing tool, I am using dark brown dye for the background. After it dries a bit, I went back to paint the iconic tail wing of Toothless. Same brown dye I used on the edges of a base and inside of it. Hiccup's sigil is of course red as always. For the scale is only one option. I started with small brush for all the perimeters and all surfaces around the sigil. Rest of it I dyed with a wool ball. On all of the visible edges, I applied black edge dye. After it dried, I used burnishing gum and smoothed the edges with burnisher. For the back of the side piece I again used dark brown dye, but for the front of the piece I used antique finish to highlight the lines. You can see them stand out as I apply the finish on the leather as it goes inside the carved lines. At the end I used satin leather finish to make the colors and leather look healthier. The eye on the toothless kind of blends in, so I decided to highlight it more with white dye. To stitch all the pieces together, I used black saddle thread with 2 needles on both ends and cross stitch it all around. Here I am adjusting the side piece so it goes on the side of the circle and not below it. I am tightening the threads every 2 or 3 cross stitches to make it tight. At the end I did 1 extra loop to make sure it is tightly together. Then I'm finishing it with a knot, trimming the excess thread and seal the ends with the lighter. I used a similar principle to stitch the cup together. I was trying to tighten everything during the process so it feels really solid when holding the cup. And with the last stitch in place, this Dragon Rider's dice cup is finally ready. A piece that was not forged in dragon's fire, but in patience, and just a bit of a Viking spirit.